Welcome back to a new AI tutorial. In this video, we are going to be creating an AI agent for web search using LangChain and Streamlit. Our agent is going to be taking prompts from us and it's going to make relevant web search. Then it's going to respond back with the relevant search results. It's going to be a hands-on coding tutorial and I'm going to be coding the entire app on the video. So you can just follow the video for coding the app with me. You can see the app that we are going to be creating in this video from the screen right now. Let's start coding. I'm in the Visual Studio Code interface right now. You can use any code editor that you want. At the first place, what I'm going to do is I'm going to close this welcome page and create something like app.py, and we are going to be coding in here. So let's start by making our imports for the project. We will say import operating system, import Streamlit as st. We will import requests. And we are going to say from BS4 import beautiful soap for web scraping, and we will say from LangChain large language models import OpenAI, and actually OpenAI like this, yeah. And next up, what we are going to do is we will say from LangChain.chat models import chat OpenAI. And next we will say from LangChain.agents import to agent executor initialize agent and agent type like this. Next we will say from LangChain.tools import DuckDuckGo search run. And next we are going to say from .environment import load.environment, and at the last place I'm going to say import warnings, and at the first place I'm going to say warnings, filter warnings, ignore, because I don't want to see any kind of depreciation or update warnings. So I saved that, and what we need to have at the starting on the project is we need to have an OpenAI API key for working on this project. You can create your API key for free from the OpenAI API playground. You can go to this website and you can basically just sign up and they give you $5. You can get your key from there. Just Google this. And after getting your key, what we are going to do is we are going to create a new file like that. Environment, it's going to be an environment file, and we will say OpenAI API key, and it's going to be starting with SK. So you're just going to paste that key in here like this. So I'm going to paste my key and then I'm going to save this file and close, and you can get your API key from the OpenAI API playground. Okay, now I have my API key ready, and at the next place I'm going to load my environment variables like load.environment like this. So now I have my OpenAI API key access from my app. We are going to continue by creating a custom web scraper tool. So I will say class enhanced web scraper tool, and in here I'm going to create like define and self. I will say self.name is going to be the web scraper, and self.description is going to be scrape content from our website with advanced options. Input should be a URL. Okay, so next we will say define run, and in here we will give self and URL, and it's going to be string, and as a return on the function we will say string like this. So this means that this function will return a string. Okay, let's use exception handling in here, so if it crashes our program won't crash. We will say try, and we will say like headers. We are going to give headers in here for our request. Let's say like user agent, and we can say like Mozilla 5 0. Actually, I'm going to make a copy paste on that. Let me quickly search my previous code on this. Okay, I found it. You can type the same thing. I'm just going to paste it because otherwise it's going to take too much time. I'm going to show you like this user agent, and let's actually use a Q sign in here, and now it's working smoothly. User agent, Mozilla 5.0, Windows NT 10, Windows 64x64, Apple WebKit, KHTML like Gecko, Chrome. You can copy the same code. Next, what I'm going to say is, actually in here I will press enter, and now I will say response is going to be requests get URL, headers is going to be the headers, and let's set the timeout as 10. Okay, great. Next I'm going to say response and raise for status like this. Next we are going to parse the HTML content that we get in here. In here, for that we will use Beautiful Soup that we imported in here. As you can see, I will say soup is going to be Beautiful Soup, and I will say response the text, and I will say HTML parser. So in here we are parsing the HTML content, and at the next place we need to remove the script and style elements. So I will say for script in soup script style footer name, and aside I will say script.extract like this. And next I'm going to get the text content. So I will say text is going to be soup get text, and I will say separator, actually separator, and it's going to be the wrong direction one like this, and I will say strip equals to true. Okay, now it's time for cleaning the text. So we will say lines, and it's going to be equal to the line.strip, and for line in text.split lines, and let's say like chunks, and it's going to be phrase.strip for line in lines, for phrase in line split, and it's going to be a space like this. Next I will say text is going to be equal to the join, and you will say chunk for chunk in chunks if chunk. And after this text cleaning part, what we are going to do is we are going to limit the text length to avoid overwhelming the model. So let's set like max length of 4000. You can increase this number, and I will say if length of the text is greater than maximum length, then I want you to text and maximum length filter like this, and I will say plus, and I'm going to say ... Next up I'm going to say and I will say content truncated due to length like this. Okay, seems great. Next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say return. This method is going to return something like content from URL, and next we will say like and text like this. And still we have a try block in here, so I'm going to match that with except. I'm going to catch all the exception like this, E, and I'm going to return error scraping URL, and I will say string, and I will pass error message in here. Great. So our web scraping class is ready right now. Okay, so next up what we are going to do is we are going to set the page config. So I will say Streamlit set page config, and I will say page title is going to be web search AI agent, and layout is going to be white, and initial sidebar state is going to be expanded. Next, we are going to work on the sidebar. So I will say with streamlit.sidebar streamlit title web search AI agent, and I'm going to say streamlit.write. This tool allows you to ask questions and get answers from the web. Okay, cool. Next, what we are going to do is we will say Streamlit subheader, and we are going to add a section like how it works. Next up, let's use Streamlit.write again with this kind of text, and I will say enter. Now what I'm going to do is actually, let me see what it is doing right now. Okay, I'm not sure why it's going like this, but we can clean later on. Now what I'm going to do is I will say, okay, now it's fixed, I think. We will say, and first enter your question in the input field. Next up, we will say second, click search button, and at the third place we will say like the AI agent field, and now we are going to type like search the web for relevant information. Next, it's going to do extract content from websites, and next it will do like generate a comprehensive answer. Okay, seems great. Now we will add 2 of these and we are good to go with this. So next up what we are going to do is we will say streamlit.subheader, and we will say settings. Now I will say model choice, and it's going to be streamlit.selectbox, and I'm going to say choose a language model. Actually we can just say choose language model, and our options are going to be GPT-4o and GPT-4o mini, like this. And also let's set the index like 0. Okay, so next up, actually let me just delete this one, and it works smoothly right now. Next we are going to set the temperature parameter. Like temperature means the creativity in the language models, so let's set like temperature. It's going to be streamlit.slider. We will say temperature creativity. We can say like minimum value, it takes values between 0 and 1, 0.0, maximum value 1.0, value 0.5, and step is going to be 0.1. Okay, now we will say max iterations for avoiding the infinite loops. So I will say streamlit.slider, and we will say maximum search iterations. Minimum value is going to be 1, maximum value is going to be 10, and let's set the default as 5, like this. Okay, our sidebar is ready like this. In here we have a title, we have a subheader, and we have some settings in here. Okay, seems great. Now we are going to create the main content. So let's start with adding a title like web search AI agent, and let me copy an icon quickly. We can add an emoji like this. Next, we can do like Streamlit.write, ask me anything, and I will search the web for you. Okay, great. So now we are going to initialize our models and tools. So I will use Streamlit catch resource. Next, I'm going to say define initialize web agent, and I'm going to pass model name, temperature, and max iteration like this. Next, I will say API key is going to be operating system get environment, and we will say OpenAI API key. Remember, we loaded our environment variables in here, losing the data environment. Okay, so here we set our API key. Next up, what we are going to do is we will say initialize the large language model like LLM is going to be chat OpenAI, and we will say temperature is going to be the temperature, and actually user is going to select from here. We are going to assign it later on, but the temperature in here is the thing that we pass in our function. So model name is going to be model name again, and OpenAI API key is going to be API key like this. Cool. Now we are going to set our agent type. Like I will say agent type, and it's going to be agent type dot chat 0 short react description like this. And we are going to create the search tool, like search tool is going to be DuckDuckGo search run like this. And next up we will say web scraper tool, and it's going to be the LangChain web scraper tool that we defined at the upper place in here. Now we are going to combine the tools, like tools is going to be like this, and we will say tool, we are going to say name, search, and function is going to be search tool dot run, and description is going to be useful for searching the web for information. Input should be a search query like this. Okay, great. Now we are going to go with the second tool. We will say name equals to web scraper, and we are going to set the function like web scraper tool.run, and we are going to set the description like useful, actually one equal sign, useful for scraping content from a specific website. Input should be a URL. Okay, cool. Now we have our tools ready, and next we are going to create the agent. So what I'm going to do in here is I will say agent, and I'm going to call initialize agent. Now I will say tools equals to tools, and LLM equals to LLM, agent equals to the agent type, and next verbose is going to be true, and we are going to set the max iterations with the number we give in our function like this. Next I'm going to say handle parsing errors, and actually like this, and I will call it true. Next I will say early stopping method, and it's going to be the generate. Okay, we have one last thing in here. Since it's a function, we need to return something, so we will say return agent. Cool. Now our function is ready. Okay, and next thing is going to be the initializing session state to store conversation history. So I will say if messages not in Streamlit session state, we will say Streamlit session state dot messages and it's going to be an empty list. And we are going to display the previous messages like for message in Streamlit session state messages with Streamlit chat message role like this. We will say Streamlit markdown message and content like this. Okay, now we are going to create a text input for user questions. So I'm going to say user question, and it's going to be Streamlit chat input, and I will say what would you like to know. Next up, I will say we are going to initialize our agent with user settings. So I'm going to use an exception handling again in here. I will say try, and I'm going to say agent is going to be initialize web agent, like the function that we defined in the ADS6. We will say model choice and temperature and max iterations. Remember, we are taking them in the sidebar in here. And let me show you the sidebar setup. Yeah, here is the sidebar setup, and we are taking the settings in here. Okay, so we initialize it like this. Next, what I'm going to do is we will say accept exception as E, and we will say log streamlit.error, and we will say error initializing agent, and we can make the error message print up like this, and agent is going to be none in this scenario. Okay, cool. Now next we are going to work on when user submits a question. So we will say if user question and agent, and we are going to say Streamlit session state messages, and I'm going to go append in here, and I will say like role is going to be user, and content is going to be user question like this. Next, so we are checking the user question and agent like this in here, so it only works if they are both true, which means that they both created correctly, because we are using AND. It checks the both conditions. Next, we are going to display the user message. So I will say with Streamlit chat message, and I'm going to say user like this, and I will use Streamlit.markdown user question. Great. And next we are going to display the assistant response. So with Streamlit chat message, and I will say, actually it is not going to be bracket, it's going to be parentheses like this, and I will say at the lower side assistant message placeholder is going to be Streamlit.empty, and next we are going to say with Streamlit status, let's say something like working on it, and we can say expanded true, and we can specify like as status, and next up inside of this we can say Streamlit.write searching the web. Okay, now I'm going to use an exception handling again in here. So I will say try, and for the response side I will say agent.run, and I'm going to make this run with user question. Next I'm going to update the status like status update label search complete, and state is going to be complete like this. Next up I'm going to say I want to display the answer, so I'm going to say message placeholder.markdown, and I will pass the response like this. and I'm going to add assistant response to chat history. So I will say Streamlit session state dot messages dot append, and I'm going to actually append like this, and I'm going to say like role is going to be in a string format assistant, and content is going to be the response like this. Okay, and in here we have a open try, so we will say except, and we can say like exception as E, and we will say status update label is going to be error, and state is going to be error. Next we will say error message, and we are going to use an F string, and I will say an error occurred, and I will say string, and I will say E like this. Next I will say message, actually I'm not going to keep this in here. Next I will say message placeholder dot error, and I will say error message like this, and I'm going to say Streamlit session state messages append, and I'm going to say role again in here. It's going to be assistant, and next I'm going to say content is going to be the error message. Okay, cool. So our app is ready right now. So let's test our app, and in the final I'm going to summarize all this code. And for making this code run, we are going to open the terminal, and we will say Streamlit run the file name app.py. We are going to say app.py, and it's going to open a file in the browser automatically. You can also check this website, like this is your local host 192.168.100. You can just copy this URL and or this one and paste it to the browser for reaching to the Streamlit app address. By the way, before opening the app, we have an error in here, so I just recognized that in here I use brackets. We need to use parentheses in here, so I'm just going to make it like this. Then I'm going to save my file, and my Streamlit app automatically gets updated. So you can just open this address after saving this, and I'm going to be re-recording in my browser in a second. So here is our app. As we can see, we have the web search AI agent, ask me anything and I will search the web for you. And here we have our sidebar, and in Streamlit you can just change settings from the right upper side, like you can use the app theme changed or wide mode change. It's up to you. And I'm going to take a look at the sidebar. We have, it says web search AI agent. It says this tool allows you to ask questions and get answers from the web. And how it works: enter your questions in the input field, click the search button. The AI agent will search the web for relevant information, extract content from websites, generate a comprehensive answer. And here we can choose our models, and you can also add other models from the OpenAI documentation to here, and we can set creativity, we can change it, and we can change the maximum search iterations like this. Okay, everything seems great, and let's test it out. So here what I'm going to do is I will say like, what are the names of most popular 5 songs in March 2025. So let's see our response. It says working on it, searching the web, and our response will be in here in a second, I think. Yeah, it says the most popular songs in March 2025 are Luther by Kendrick Lamar, Die With A Smile by Lady Gaga and Bruno Mars, Not Like Us by Kendrick Lamar, TV Off by Kendrick Lamar featuring Lefty Gunplay, and a bar song Tipsy by Shabu Z. So I'm just going to be re-recording my terminal, and I'm going to show you how the agent is acting on the search. So then we can make different searches and try the app that we created. So here we can see that from the terminal, I'm on the terminal, the entire process, it says entering new agent executor chain, and it searches the web like this, and it says the observations, findings like this, and it just searches the web and creates a final list like this, and it generates a final answer. So our AI agent is working really good. So let's make another example. I will say it's 13th March 2025. I am living in Ankara, Turkey. Can you check the weather for tomorrow for me? And let's wait for our response. And it says searching the web, working on it, and our response is going to be in here in a second. It says the weather forecast for Ankara, Turkey on March 14, 2025 is expected to be a light rain shower with temperatures ranging from 7 degrees to 14 degrees. The wind will be blowing at 9 kilometers per hour with a humidity level of 78%. Great, let's see how our terminal looks like. Here we can see our chain and agent activity from the terminal like this. Great. So let's make a final example and let's say like search the web for the most popular large language models for March 2025. So let's see our response. And it says working on it, searching the web. It says the most popular LLMs for March 2025 include OpenAI's GPT 4.5, xAI's Grok 3, Anthropic's Cloud 3, DeepSeek LLM 67 billion chat, and Gemini. Okay, great. So our web search agent is working really good and we can use it for web search. Great. So now I'm going to go back to the code editor for summarizing the code. So we don't need terminal anymore. And in here, at the first place, we make our imports. We import operating system for setting the environment keys. And we import Streamlit for the web app. We import requests and Beautiful Soap for the information retrieval side on the web. And we use LangChain for the AI agent operations. We use .environment for loading our environment variables from the environment file we have, and we use warnings for filtering irrelevant warnings. And at the first place we use load.environment for loading the environment variables from our environment file, and we define a class like enhanced web scraper tool and we name it like web scraper. We define a method like run, we specify the output type, and in here we give headers. We use requests like this for getting information, and we use Beautiful Soap on the scraping side, and we do data cleaning, and we set the maximum length for 4000 for avoiding overwhelming the model, and we return the content from URL is this, and if we get an error we raise this and we say that we have this error. Okay, next we set the page config like page title, layout, and initial sidebar state, and then we define our sidebar. We say the title on the sidebar is going to be Web Search AI Agent. We say enter your question, it's like the instructions, and we give choices in here for the model, temperature, and maximum iterations. And if user makes any change on this side, we update our agent. Next, we say on the main app, Web Search AI Agent, ask me anything and I will search the web for you. Then we use Streamlit Cache resource and we define Initialize Web Agent. Here we got the API key from the environment that we loaded from the environment file. And here we initialize the large language model. And next up, we specify the agent type and we create a search tool like this. Next, we create the web scraper tool like this, and we define the tools together. We combine them in here. Next, we create the agent and return the agent in this function. Next, we initialize session state to store conversation history in here, and we display the previous messages like this, and we create a text input for user questions in here. Next, we initialize our agent with user settings in here like this. We say if there is an error, we use exception handling in here. We just raise an error message like error in initializing agent with error message, and we set the agent to none. And if both conditions are satisfied, which means that we created agent successfully and we took the question from the user, then we say add user message to the chat history and display the user message, then display the assistant response, and next up we say with Streamlit status working on it expanded true. We make our agent run and we say Streamlit searching the web. Next, we run our agent like this with the run command, and in here we change the placeholder with the response, and we append the message that we got from our assistant in our session state. And if there's an error in the process, we say there's an error and we show the error message like this. Then we change the message placeholder with the error message, and we add the error message to the Streamlit session state. And that's it for this project. Let's get to the outro. Thanks for watching this video on creating an AI agent for web search. I have a playlist named AI tutorials where I have more than 20 tutorials just like this one. You can reach that playlist from the cards of this video or from the link in the description. Also, I'm sharing a new video every week on my channel about data science. You can subscribe for more videos like this. Have a great day.